major local breaking news here, a story that we have been following for some time. This is regarding Navy Seaman Jermiah Copeland. He was scheduled to appear in military court this morning. Our 13 News Now reporter Madison Schlegel has been in court on the scene reporting on this from the beginning. Attorneys had indicated that Copeland had plans to enter into a plea agreement related to the death of fellow sailor Angelina Resendiz, and that would avoid what was expected to be a lengthy court-martial. We have just gotten word from Madison Schlegel here in the last minute or 2 minutes that plea deal has in fact been submitted by Jermiah Copeland and his legal representation. There is an agreement to a plea deal. Copeland will be sentenced to no less than 40 years and 2 months of confinement at Leavenworth Federal Prison in Kansas, a dishonorable discharge, forfeitures of all pay and allowances, and reduction of rank to seaman apprentice. So he was facing 7 charges. We will hold off at this time on the details of which charges were pled in which way, but we do know that a plea deal has been reached in the Jermiah Copeland trial. That plea deal will lead to these following consequences for Jermiah Copeland: no less than 40 years and 2 months of confinement at Leavenworth Federal Prison in Kansas, a dishonorable discharge, forfeitures of all pay and allowances, and a reduction of rank to seaman apprentice. So that is the final conclusion when it comes to a lengthy story that we have followed from the very beginning. Initially, the disappearance of Angelina Resendiz, then the discovery of Angela Resendiz's bodies a short distance from Naval Station Norfolk, and eventually the accusations and then charges that came against Jermiah Copeland, and now a plea deal from Jermiah Copeland. Now, that brings us to what may be some level of legal conclusion to this story. It certainly is not the end of this story, as we have heard repeatedly from Angela Resendiz's mother, Angelina Resendiz's mother, as she attempts to create a situation where real changes are made to protect others from having to suffer the way that Angelina Resendiz did. But we also know that family will, family and friends of Angelina Resendiz will always have to deal with the consequences of this particular horrendous act. And of course, among those 7 charges, the most serious, premeditated murder. So we do know at the very least that to the charge of premeditated murder, there was a not guilty plea, but then there was a guilty plea to the lesser included offense of unpremeditated murder, according to the initial information that we have here. We'll get more into the details surrounding the 7 charges, the guilties and the not guilty pleas as a part of this plea deal once we're able to get in contact with or get more information from Madison Schlegel. But what we do know now, and we can report, is that Specialist 3rd Class Jermiah Copeland, 21 years old, the sailor charged with killing Specialist 3rd Class Angelina Resendiz, has agreed to a plea deal that will lead to him spending no less than 40 years and 2 months at Leavenworth Federal Prison in Kansas. That is the breaking news that we have for you today. Again, on the story, the case of the death of Angelina Resendiz. Jermiah Copeland strikes a plea deal in the 7 charges brought against him in relation to that death, including premeditated murder, which was pled down. So let's see if there's any further information. Of course, it is obvious now that there will be no lengthy court martial. Otherwise, that's kind of no trial, if you will, if we can speak in more layman's terms, outside of the confines of sort of the military legal system. Let's see if we have any more information. We've been over the details of this case so frequently and so often that we will not start from the beginning. If you followed us here on 13 News Now, if you're in the area, you know, again, of the disappearance of Angelina Resendiz, the investigation, the discovery of her body, ultimately the charges against Jermiah Copeland, the details that came up about his past and about the warning signs that may have been there from his past behavior, the family of Angelina Resendiz, how vocal of advocates they have been to create a more safe situation for others who will walk the same path that she walked in the military. And so all of this coming together on this morning as we get information of that plea deal from Jermiah Copeland. Now, again, Madison Schlegel is there. She is at the trial. She is, or she is at the hearing, if you will, and she is covering every single aspect of this particular plea deal. Now, she has an immense amount of work to do. We're keeping our eyes on our live feeds here, our local live feeds. If Madison Schlegel does become available for a live update for us here on Impact News at any point in the next 90 minutes, we certainly will go to her. We can promise that she will have coverage in our noon program of everything that she heard from trial today, or we can at least promise that that is very much the plan, considering that nothing goes awry in the next 2 hours or so. So a major update to you here from one of the local stories that has totally and completely dominated the headlines in Hampton Roads for years now.